going on, everybody? Good morning. It's your boy, MrOgDfs, and this is my Saturday, December 20th, main slate breakdown. And this will start today at about 7 o'clock. So without further ado, let's jump right on into it. At the point guard position, up top, we got Russell Westbrook. He's $9,200. I think that's a good price against Phoenix. Last time they played Phoenix, he was highly motivated, and he put up 68 fantasy points. So Russell Westbrook is definitely a good option. Also because, in the game against the Clippers, how Pat Bev and Russell kind of get into it. And then Harden usually will shine in that regard. I think in this, if Devin Booker and Harden kind of jab at each other and it takes them off their game, I think that's probably another reason why Russell. Plus he's going up against Rubio, which is definitely a favorable matchup. So I definitely like Russell Westbrook as one of the core plays today at 9,200. Damian Lillard on the back-to-back going up against Minnesota. Much sweeter matchup than going up against Orlando. Still put up 46 fantasy points. Carmelo's dealing with a few health issues. So with that in mind, I definitely like Dame Lillard on the back-to-back at 8,700 to put up strong numbers against Minnesota. Ben Simmons is going up against the Washington Wizards. He's 7,900. He's under 8K. They're 22nd against point guards and fantasy points per game allowed. So Ben Simmons at 7,900 is an excellent option. And that's up top. Mid-tier, I do like De'Aaron Fox coming back on the back-to-back with Bogdan being hurt. And they have, some other issues with some of the players. I definitely like Fox to come back at 6,500. I think him and Marvin Bagley off the bench, man, that is rough. If they would have been closer into that game, I could have seen Fox and Bagley playing, even more time. But I definitely think you should look out for that with them two guys off the bench. And then also in the mid-tier, I like Tomas Satoransky going up against Detroit. I really wasn't feeling too much of D-Rose and Teague just because of their health issues, and I like to see them show some consistency before I kind of jump on them. Everybody, has their own way of thinking. So because of that, I like the much easier matchup for Sato and Chris Dunn. I think Satoransky in his last few games, Tomas has been doing very well, and as we look at the game log, one moment, he put up two of his last three have been in the mid-30s, so he's definitely doing a lot better. He's definitely paying off his price tag. Chris Dunn as well has been paying off that tag. His fantasy production just slightly under Sato's the last two, but more consistent in the last three, or just as consistent the last three. And then if you want to go under 5K, I like Pat Bev coming up against San Antonio, another high-profile matchup. They'll definitely need his services. I think Derek White on the other side get you, 20 to 25 minutes. He can pick up big numbers. And then for Milwaukee, I like George Hill. He's been doing well his last few games as well. So that's what I currently like at the point guard position. At shooting guard, up top, I definitely love James Harden today. He's only 11-1 going up against Phoenix. He can definitely put up big numbers against the Suns. So depending on your roster construction, James Harden may also be one of your core plays. Now, at 7,600, they got Devin Booker underpriced right now. He just came back last game against OKC. I think this will be a much more favorable matchup. He'll definitely be motivated to go up against James Harden. At 7,600, I think he's definitely a solid play. Also, CJ McCollum has really been doing well lately. He's been in the 40s 3 games in a row, high 40s, going up close to 50. So currently, based on the consistency, I like CJ a little bit better than Booker, but because Booker's going up against Harden, you got to kind of, that evens out the potential where I might do some Booker McCollums and kind of save the funds on Harden to hit up on Westbrook and make some lineups in that way. Now, Buddy Hield, one thing about Hield is he took 15 shots last game. The last few games, he's been taking a lot of shots. He just hasn't been hitting them. So with Bogdan out, and if he can just find his shot, man, in a favorable matchup against Memphis today, I like Buddy Hield. I think he could do great. However, if you want a more cash gamey solid play, then DiVincenzo's been playing very well. It feels like he's been taking a little production away from Middleton, and they're with the youth movement, and I think that DiVincenzo may be the more solid play of the two, and you get to save $800. So I like DiVincenzo. Lou Williams. Now Lou, his last time, he's 5,100, man. I don't even remember seeing Lou Williams as cheap. Played 17 minutes last time. His minutes has been going down. Looks like I believe he's been dealing with some issues. But Lou Williams, I think if he's right, you definitely want to throw Lou Will in the equation today. Now, the more safer play is definitely Josh Richardson. He's back in the 30s in minutes. He's putting, last two, 26 and 33. So he's back where he needs to be. The price is way too cheap. So you got to look at Richardson. Now, Brooks, I had him a little bit last night. He put up 38 fantasy points. Favorable matchup against Cleveland. Coming back against Sacramento at home. Another favorable matchup. If he's right on the back-to-back, I like Richardson a little more. But the way Brooks played, I definitely could see Brooks doing big things today. Now, Brown, if Kennard's out again, they went up against Boston last time in Boston. Didn't have a chance for really big time. And Toronto and Boston. And if you look before that, his production was great against Houston and Washington in faster-paced games. Today's matchup is against the Bulls. They're 14th in pace. So it should be a little bit of a better pace-up spot compared to the other two for Brown. So Kennard doesn't play. I love Brown today. Ben McLemore, last time they went up against Phoenix, he put up almost 30 fantasy points. So McLemore at 4,200, depending on the game flow, I could see him doing well today as well, down low. So those are currently my picks for shooting guard. On the small forward, Giannis Antetokounmpo, only 11,300, going up against New York in the guard, favorable matchup. I love Giannis today. Paul George, I do like Paul. However, last time they did play San Antonio, and obviously, with him being an all-star player, but in 32 minutes, he only put up 14 fantasy points. So I keep that in mind. He had a big game last time against Houston, but this is a different spot against the Spurs in San Antonio. I think that's more like Kauai Day. So, Paul George can put up big numbers, but if I had to choose, obviously, I would definitely go with Giannis and then Tobias. Thing about Tobias, this could be a bounce back game. He's kind of volatile, but they went up against Miami and Dallas. But when they had favorable matchup, he was putting up big numbers, as you see. So against Washington, you can't find a better spot than that right now. So I definitely like Tobias Harris to bounce back. Now, if you want to drop down, Marcus Morris going up against Chicago. As long as Blake is out, still a strong play. Bazemore played 32 minutes. He took 8 shots. If Bazemore can hit his shots, he would definitely be a value play at small forward. Crowder just came off a big performance. He's been taking a lot of shots. Out of his past 4 games, he took 11, 13, 15 shots last game and still ended up with 26 fantasy points, and they only hit a third of his shots. So, Jay Crowder is definitely an option as well. And right now, I did see Kevin Knox, but he's just too volatile. Daniel House Jr. Daniel House last time, he put up some better numbers. He played a lot more minutes and was in the mid-20s in fantasy points. So 23 fantasy points last time against the Clippers in 35 minutes at 4,100. He definitely could be a strong option as well. And we'll go ahead and move on to the power forward position. Up top, there's Kauai. He only 9,100, man. It is probably best to jump on Kauai today. I think he'll do good. Last time up against the Spurs, he was in the 40s. 43 fantasy points. Right now at his tag, he's basically paying that off. LaMarcus Aldridge, the one thing I seen last time they played against the Clippers, he put up 52 fantasy points at 8K. Way too underpriced. He could do big things. Randall, last time his minutes went down, and looks like Your boy Bobby Portis put up some huge numbers, man, last time. He's at center today. If Randall gets his, more of his normal run, looks like the last 2 games he's been down to 22 and 23 minutes. So if that continues, I don't necessarily like him today, but I do like all 5 of the Phillies starters. I like Richardson because of his price, probably the best, him or Embiid, but Al Horford can bounce back as well. This is a favorable matchup. Dallas, Miami, 2 tough games, but prior to that, 39 against Brooklyn, and he put up 32 against Toronto. So, Al Horford, 6,300. He definitely can get you there. Jaren Jackson, if he stays out of foul trouble, 35 fantasy points against Cleveland yesterday. He can get you there. Don't like Bertans' tough matchup today. Clark as well. Robert Covington, boom, here he is. Now, if Covington, if your boy is out cat again, obviously Gorgie Ding, but Covington would be a pretty safe play. He took 17 shots 2 games ago against New Orleans. So if he gonna take 17 shots, man, 13, 11. He didn't take as many on the road in Denver in the different altitude. 0 for 4 for 3. That's not going to repeat itself. The air is different there. So you got to look at Robert Covington as a strong play. Kaminsky, he kind of hurt me last night. I would have won a lot if he would have performed. 6 fantasy points, 10 minutes. Your boy ate and wasn't there. Why was he not playing? So if he's got some issues, you got to pivot back down to Sarge. I love Sarge too, but then take enough of Sarge. And I definitely will not make that mistake next time. Now, Rashawn Holmes, man, still 5,100. Him and Marvin Bagley, for the most part, you could almost lock them in and do combinations of Holmes, Bielitsa, and Bagley. Bagley is $4,700, and he got De'Aaron Fox running with him on the second unit, man. Come on now. That's crazy. If that stays that way, I love him. Bielitsa's hitting value. Bagley, last game, he stepped up. Look at the minutes, went up to 27, put up 32 fantasy points. That's what we was looking for. And instead of them raising the price, they went down on the price. You should probably go 100% Marvin Bagley today. That's just my opinion. If Kaminsky's going to be limited, you could probably go Marvin Bagley and Sarge and be good today. Now Thaddeus Young, I think with the young guy, his backup behind him, not haven't played many minutes, I think, he's definitely a good value play. He gonna get you value at 4,200. But for GPP perspective, I like Sarge and Bagley way more. They too close in price to not like them. B. Halita, love him. PJ Tucker, last game out, put up 35. You could probably throw him in there as well. But when you compare him to the other guys, I can't see myself taking any Tucker when I got these guys from Sacramento surrounding him. And if Carmelo don't play one other guy, look at Scal Labissiere. If he's got issues, Scal put up 23 against Orlando, and then they going up against Minnesota. I like that matchup for him. So that's what I like at power forward. On to the center position. If Cat's in, obviously, great play. What he dealing with, we want him to get healthy. So we're going to move forward because there's other good centers who should put up around the same, if not better, production today. Embiid, 61 last time against Dallas yesterday. Back-to-back, easier matchup against Washington. He's a monster, but because of how great he performed, he may want to pivot to players who haven't been doing well, like a Tobias Harris, like a Al Horford. This might be a Tobias Harris, Al Horford type of day, or Ben Simmons-y type of day. One of the other starters, or Richardson. So I do keep that in mind. Then I look at Drummond at 9,600. He didn't do as well. When you look at Embiid's stats and then look at Drummond, he didn't compare to Embiid. So Embiid was the better play yesterday. But they were playing Boston. This against Chicago, where they'll need him down low, and his services in much favorable matchup against Wendell Carter and Markkanen. They not trying to go up against Embiid, you know that. So against Drummond. So Drummond is solid there. I don't really like Whiteside on the back-to-back as much. If Ayton plays, I would love Ayton, but we'll keep posted to that. Back-to-back for Joe Val, there might be a Clark day, more of a Clark day. But anyway, at center, I like Mitchell Robinson. I do like him. He put up 30. Like, if they're going with the hot hand, they, for one, it could be more of a Randall day. But if whatever Randall's dealing with and Portis is not on, then obviously it's gonna go to Mitchell Robinson, 6K for a mid-range center. Brook Lopez, I think it was because they were playing the Lakers. Lopez comes and plays his best ball when they play high-profile teams and they trying to, keep their rep, solid as being the best team in the NBA. That's when he shows up in the brightest moments. This game against the Knicks in the Garden, they're not a good team. Lopez, if you can get the minutes out of him, I think he'd be a great play. But if Cat's out, I'm going to probably pivot more towards Gorgie because the more Deng plays, the better he gets. That's kind of how Deng is. And then Jacob Poeltl, 25 fantasy points last time. I like him. But, Portis is going to get the minutes, man. 24 minutes last time. And you're going to put him in the mid-20s. I'll take Portis all day over all those options. So that is my early NBA GPP breakdown for the main slate for FanDuel. It's your boy, MrOgDfs. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll be posting these videos more consistently, and I hope it can help guide you to win some guaranteed prize pool money. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. Stay tuned. Have a good one. Peace.